Hello to everyone. The special greeting for those researchers, teachers, and students who are involved in this world of educational digital competencies. In this case, we have performed a study, and it was done by a group of teachers and researchers. In this case, Sara Cruz Naranjo, Julio Encalada Marcos Arboleda, and John Chamba. We all belong to Universidad Técnica de Machala, Ecuador. And the topic is educational robotics resources for the development of digital competencies of trainee teachers. Teacher training in the current context has been affected by the traces left by the COVID-19 pandemic. It involves enhancing the development of teachers' digital competencies for their application in the teaching learning processes. Therefore, it is important to seek pedagogical alternatives to boost the development of digital competencies of university students who are preparing to become teaching professionals. If before the pandemic, it was an alternative for teachers to have a good level of digital competencies to apply in their classes, after the pandemic, it became a necessity. Digital teaching competencies are multidimensional and can be defined as those skills and abilities that allow searching, critically selecting, as well as obtaining and processing relevant information using ICTs to transform it into knowledge, while being able to communicate such information through the use of different technological and digital support by acting responsibly, respecting socially established norms, and taking advantage of these tools to get information, learn, solve problems, and communicate in different scenarios of interactions. Digital teaching competence includes everything related to pedagogical tasks and teaching with the support of digital educational resources in face-to-face environments and other virtual learning spaces. Digital competencies is a component of the professional teaching profile that allows the design, implementation, and evaluation of training actions oriented to the teacher's didactic use of technology with the learners, according to what Almenara says in 2002. Well, related to digital competencies, in the last decade, the use of educational robotics and the STEAM approach, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, and engineering, for training in service and pre-service teachers in issues related to digital competencies, has gained momentum. Several studies demonstrate the use of educational robotics and STEAM approach to promote learning and the development of technological competencies. In order to get this, we have used 7 approaches. In this case, the goal was to assess teachers' digital competencies. So the most consolidated models are presented as follows: UNESCO ICT Competencies Framework for Teachers, European Framework of Digital Competences for Educators, DIDCOMP EDU, Spanish Common Framework of Digital Competence for Teachers, ISTE Standards for Educators, British Professional Framework for Digital Teaching, Chilean ICT Competencies and Standards for the Teaching Profession, Colombian ICT Competencies for the Professional Development of Teachers. In the current research, the DIDCOMP-EDU model was selected because it is considered the most appropriate model for assessing digital teaching competence. The model is made up of 6 areas. Area number 1, professional engagement, refers mainly to the use of digital technological resources for communication and collaboration with other teachers and students. In area 2, digital context, search, selection, creation, adaptation, and sharing of digital educational resources by teachers. Area 3, teaching and learning, area related to the appropriate use and incorporation of digital educational resources in teaching and learning processes. Area 4, evaluation and feedback, refers to the ability of teachers to use technological resources in digital strategies in evaluation processes that benefit the quality education of students. In area number 5, students empowerment, aspects related to the use of digital educational resources are grouped here to promote inclusion in educational environments, personalized learning, and student engagement in educational activities with technology. Area number 6, the development of digital competence of students refers to the transfer of digital competences to students. That is, that students are able to creatively and responsibly use digital technology resources in their own teaching and learning processes. The DILCOMPO EDI model also allows to measure the level of teachers' digital competence. That is, to measure the ability of teachers to use, create, and adapt digital technology resources in a responsible, creative, and innovative way. These levels are A1, which is novel, A2, which is explorer, B1, which is integrator, B2, expert, C1, leader, and C2, a pioneer. Range from A1, novel, represents the most basic level, to level C2, pioneer, represents the most advanced level in digital teaching competencies. In line with the above background, the objective of this research work was aimed at analyzing the effect of an intervention based on educational robotics with a STEM approach on the digital competencies of trainee teachers. Considering this objective, the following research questions were formulated. Question number 1, are there differences in digital competencies in the PE area of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotics intervention? Question number 2, are there differences in digital competences in the area of DC of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotic intervention? Question number 3, are there differences in digital competences in the area of TL of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotics intervention? Question number 4, are there differences in digital competencies in the area of EF of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotics intervention? Question number 5, are there differences in digital competencies in the area of SE of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotics intervention? And question number 6, are there differences in digital competencies in the area of DS of pre-service teachers before and after the educational robotics interventions? We use all of these questions in order to follow a methodology. So in this case, the methodology use a quantitative approach and a pre-experimental design with pre-test and post-test measures of a single group, a questionnaire based on the DILCOMP-EDU model, which was applied before and after the educational intervention. The trainee teachers who participated in educational intervention were 58, but 3 of them quit for a final total of 55 participants. The project-based learning methodology was used for the educational intervention, which consisted of 3 phases: project planning, project development, and project fair. Okay, let's see about the pre-test and post-test instruments. For the current study, a questionnaire based on DILCOMP was used. This questionnaire was applied as pre-test and post-test measures. It was made of 22 items corresponding to 6 areas of digital teaching competencies, 4 items related to the area of professional engagement, 3 to digital content, 4 to teaching and learning, 3 to assessment and feedback, 3 to students empowerment, and 5 to students digital competence development. Each item is measured on a Likert scale from 0 to 4 points. From the sum of points, the level of teachers' digital competence in each area is calculated. The level can be novice, explorer, integrator, expert, leader, or pioneer. According to the data analysis, okay, this version 29X statistical software was used for the data analysis. Kolmogorov-Smirnov test was applied with Lilly force correction to check whether the data collected on digital competence had a normal distribution. Also, The Wilcoxon sign rank test was used to analyze the average results of the pre-test and post-test digital competencies to verify if there were statistically significant differences. In addition, the effect size coherence was calculated for all pre-test and post-test comparisons of all digital competencies analyzed by considering the following criteria of coherence. It would be from 0, 1 was low effect, next was 0.3 medium or moderate effect, and next one was 0.5 large effect. Regarding two phases of the educational intervention process, the educational intervention consisted of applying the PBL methodology for university students to prepare projects on digital format on educational robotics with the STEAM approach. The projects were addressed to children in general basic education, and the structure was as follows: presentation or motivation. For the child to build the robot, presentation of materials, to describe the materials needed to build the robot. Construction process, to describe the assembly of the robot, and didactic planning to describe how to involve the STEAM areas with the robot construction process. In addition, each section of the structure also incorporates content and/or ludic activities in digital format to encourage children's motivation and creativity. The PBL methodology was adapted in 3 phases: project planning, project development, and project fair. These phases are illustrated in figure 2. During the phases of the intervention process, trainings and tutorials were conducted for the university students. The series of trainings were carried out by the teachers of there is a subject, and it's in this case, the initialisms are CSEAI. Okay, so these training were directly related to the different areas of DITCOMP edu model. So as we said, we have the project planning. In this first phase, there were groups organization, guiding questions, educational robotic proposal scheme, preparation of digital channels of communication, and collaborative work. In the next step, in this case, project development, we have robot crafting, elaboration of multimedia resources for the educational robotics proposal, didactic planning for the educational robotics proposal. And in the third step, which is project fair, we have, in this case, this fair was regarding to educational technology, multimedia resources, preparations for fair presentations, group participation in the educational technology fair. Okay? Then we need to work on some other areas. And in this case, I would like to refer to some planning, in this case, project planning. Before starting this phase, a diagnostic test, pre-test on digital competencies was applied to the students. This phase was carried out in the first 2 weeks. It means 10 hours of classes of the subject I already mentioned. The teacher of this current subject carried out a series of training sessions and tutorials explicitly related to the planning and preparation of the educational robotics proposal. In this sense, during this phase, some formative activities were carried out with the university students, which are detailed as follows. Working teams were organized. Each group was made of 4 or 5 members, where each had to decide the type of robot they would elaborate. A variety of alternatives were proposed to them: carts, boats, carts, Ferris wheels, among others. As prerequisite, all groups were asked to use the following electronic components: gear motors, DC motors, batteries of various voltages, for example, 9V or 1.V, among others, switches and connections cables. In addition, it was requested to avoid the use of soldering in the robotic creations because the proposal was aimed at children. For the brainstorm step and to make the final decision on the type of robot, each group would assemble. The university students created channels of communication, like WhatsApp, in collaborative work, folder, and documents in Google Drive. The learners in this phase conducted an exhaustive research in collaborative work in digital channels to make the final decisions on the type of robot they would propose according to the age of the children of general basic students, who would use the educational robotics proposal, and the initial sketch in digital format of the proposal was designed. Next, we have the project development, elaboration of robots. This sub-phase was carried out during 4 weeks of classes, in this case 20 hours, of the subject mentioned above. A series of training and tutorials were developed explicitly related to the construction of the robot and video recording and editing. The university students, while building the robot, recorded the procedure with mobile devices, smartphones, and tablets, and edited video on the same device using the CapCut tool. In this case, we can see internet page, which is https://www.capcut.com/es-es/. Okay, regarding to the elaboration of didactic planning, this sub-phase was carried out during 3 weeks of class, in this case 15 hours, during the dictation of the subject. A series of training and tutorials were conducted as well, related to didactic planning, so that children of basic education can work robotics with their teachers in an organized and playful way. The students were made a general didactic planning scheme using digital tools like Canva, Genially, among others. In this planning scheme were included good practice for students of basic education children to elaborate robots in a creative and fun way. Regarding to the development of multimedia resources for the educational robotic proposal, this sub-phase was carried out during 4 weeks of class, in this case, 20 hours. In the subject, a series of trainings and tutorials related explicitly to the creation of digitally interactive content and activities to be incorporated in the educational robotics proposal. The final educational robotics proposal had the format of a digital educational resource and was developed in the Excel learning tool. The digital contents and activities of this phase were grouped under the following structures: presentation or motivation, presentation of materials, construction process, and didactic planning. Regarding to project fair, this phase was carried out during 2 weeks of class, in this case, 10 hours of the same subject. Training and tutorials were conducted explicitly related to the preparation for the presentation of educational robotics projects in educational technology fair, preparation for the educational robotics fairs, socialization of educational robotics projects at the fair. For the activity, digital resources were prepared for disseminations, and aesthetic details of the robot were refined and finally presented. Well, in this case, we have the results. The results are presented for each area of teaching digital competence of the DITCH Compute Edu model in order to answer each of the questions posed in this research. First, for each area of digital competence, the results of the levels of teaching digital competence of the pre-test and post-test are presented. In addition, for each competency, the results of the Wilcoxon sign rank test are presented to verify if there were statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test. Regarding to the research question 1, which was area of professional engagement, the results in this area evidenced improvements in some levels of teaching digital competence, Once the educational experience was over, at level A1, the number of teachers in training who were at that level was reduced from 35, 64% to 7, which means 13%. At the A2 level, the number of trainee teachers decreased from 16, which means 29%, to 12, 22%. At the B1 level, there was an increase from 4, which is 7%, to 24, which means 44%. At the level B2, there were also an increase from 0, which is 0%, to 10, 18%. At the C1 level, no changes were observed. They remained at 0. At the C2 level, there was an increase from none to 2, which is 4%. Table 1 shows that the average results of the post-test mean are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the area of digital competency professional engagement. Similarly, through the Wilcoxon sign rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. Furthermore, if we review the effect size, we can observe a large effect only in the organizational communication competencies, okay, which went from 0.520 and a median effect in the other competencies. Regarding to the research questions, in this area, improvements were reported in some competency levels of several trainee teachers after having participated in the educational experience. At the A1 level, the number of trainee teachers who were at this level decreased from 30, which represents 54%, to 5, 9%. At the level A2, they also decreased from 16, 24%, to only 8, which means a 50%. At the B1 level, there was an increase from 8%, from 8, which is 15%, to 12, which is 22%. At the B2 level, there was also an increase from 1, which means 2%, to 5, meaning 9%. At the C1 level, there was an increase from 0 to 20, which means 36%. And at the C2 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 5, which means 9% teachers in training at this level. Table 2 shows that the average results of the post-test are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the digital competency area, digital contents. Similarly, through the Wilcoxon sign rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. Furthermore, if we review the effect size, we can observe a large effect only in the sharing digital resources competency and a medium effect in the other competencies. Well, regarding to the research question, in this case 3, area of teaching and learning. For this area, improvements were recorded in most levels of competence of the participants. Once the educational experience was completed at level A1, the number of trainee teachers who were at this level was reduced from 36, which is 65%, to 5, which means 9%. At the A2 level, there was an increase from 11 to 17. Both means from 20% to 31%. At the B1 level, there was an increase from 7 teachers, which means 13%, to 12, which means 22%. At the B2 level, there was also an increase from 1 teacher, which is 2%, to 5 teachers, which is 9%. At the C1 level, there was an increase from 0% to 15 teachers, which means 27%. At the C2 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 1, which means 2%. In table 3, we can see that the average results of the post-test are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the area of digital competence. teaching and learning through the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. Furthermore, reviewing the effect size, we can observe a higher involvement only in the collaborative learning competencies and a median effect in the other competencies. For the research question number 4, within area of evaluation feedback, some improvements were evidenced in some levels of competence of the teachers in training after having participated in the educational experience for the level A1. The number of participants was reduced from 34 teachers to 60, which means 62%, to 10 teachers, which means 18%. At the A2 level, there was a decrease from 17 teachers to 31% to 15, which means 27%. At the B1 level, the number of participants increased, in this case, from 44 teachers, which means 77%, to 16, which means 29%. At the B2 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 9%, which means 16%. At the C1 level, there was an increase from 0% to 4%, which means 7%. And at the C2 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 1%, in this case, represented 2%. Table 4 shows that the average results of the post-test are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the area of digital competence, evaluation, and feedback. Similarly, through the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant difference between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. Furthermore, if we review the effect size, a median of moderate effect can be observed in all the competencies analyzed. Regarding to question 5, in terms of area of students' empowerment, for this area, improvements were registered in most levels of competency of trainee teachers. Once the educational experience was completed, at the A1 level, the number of trainee teachers who were at this level decreased from 30, which is 55%, to 12, which means 22%. At the A2 level, they increased from 21 participants, which is 38%, to 26 participants, which means 47%. At the B1 level, there was an increase from 4 participants, which means 7%, to 12 participants, which means 22%. At the B2 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 3 participants, which means 5%. At the C1 level, there was also an increase from 0% to 2 participants, which means 4%. And at the C2 level, there were no changes. The level was maintained with no participants. Table 5 shows that the average results of the post-test are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the digital competency area students' empowerment. Similarly, through the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. In addition, if we review the effect size, a medium or moderate effect can be observed in all the competencies analyzed. Regarding to question 6, in this case, area of development of digital competence of students, we have table 6, which shows that the average results of the post-tests that are higher than those of the pre-test in all the competencies analyzed in the area of digital competence development of a student digital competence. Similarly, through the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test, it is confirmed that there are statistically significant differences between the pre-test and post-test in all competencies. Furthermore, if we review the effect size, a medium or moderate effect can be observed in all the competencies analyzed. As a conclusion, and according to the objectives set out in this study and the analysis of the results, the following conclusions can be drawn. Constant training strengthens the digital competencies of preserved teachers. In order to strengthen the digital competencies of teachers in training, specific educational programs or interventions can be developed in regards of their training. The training that future teachers receive should be framed in some model of digital competencies for teachers. One of the most appropriate is the DID-COMP-EDU model. It is preferable that digital teaching competencies may be trained transversally in subjects or full courses and not as isolated interventions. It is preferable that training to be constant and long-lasting better results are obtained the longer the training in digital competencies lasts. Well, that's it for today. And I want to express a special thank you to all of you for the attention. And in case you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact. Here we have included the names and the addresses for you to contact us. In this case, Sara Cruz Naranjo, you have there the address, the same for Julio Encalada Cuenca, Marcos Arboleda, and myself. Okay, so we want to say thank you very much for your attention, and I will hope to see you in another opportunity.